First of all, thank you all so much for joining us today and a big warm welcome. While we wait, I'm going to do a land acknowledgement before introducing myself and introducing Sandra here. So while we are meeting today, both in person and on a virtual platform, I would like to acknowledge the importance of the land that we each call home, wherever that may be, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, and in particular the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. On this traditional territory where you're located, we do this land acknowledgement to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility and improvement of relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples. We are grateful to live, learn, work, and play on this land. Please join me in a moment of reflection. Thank you all. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Maria, and I'm Program Coordinator of ConnecTra, which is an affiliated society of the Disability Foundation. This event is part of our initiative and our commitment to not only bring more awareness to the challenges that Indigenous people with disabilities face, but also highlight their resilience and celebrate their achievements. Here with me, I have Sandra, so I will pass it off to you to Sandra to introduce yourself.
Say, meaning welcome, hello. Thank you, viewers and my witness friends, supporters, and fans, and people that are connected to the disability community. I welcome you all. I am a visitor from the other side of the mountains. I am a proud mother of 4 grown adult children. 3 of them are Tsimshian Nation, which is the West Coast, British Columbia. And my one son is Métis. So thank you. I would like to just let you know before the film begins, there'll be some stuff on there that may be sensitive for you, because some of it is like reality of what our people face, especially the Indigenous communities, and also people of color living with disabilities. So the story I share is basically my personal testimony, and it's all part of my healing journey of where I am today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra. So this event is also part of Indigenous Disability Awareness Month, which was established by Indigenous Disability Canada, Aboriginal Network on Disability Society. Julia McKeithron, who is National Coordinator of IDC BCANDS, unfortunately could not join us here today, but she sent a very thoughtful message for us to share and learn, and not only take away the work that they do, but also the significance of this month. I will let us play the message before we screen the documentary so that we all have some more context about why we're here today and why it is important.
Ani Bojo, Julia Indishnaka, Solmami Monini, Maruskarini Koyandao, Whitney Nandonjaba, Makwanindora. Hello everyone, my name is Julia McKeithron and I am an Algonquin Anishinaabe and mixed settler woman of the Madawaska Valley. Whitney, Ontario is where I call home and Bear is my clan. I am recording this video today from the unceded, unsurrendered traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe peoples, or what is known colonially today as Ottawa, Ontario. Now, I'm incredibly grateful to the folks at ConnecTra Society for inviting me to share and record a few words for you all today. And I'm also extremely grateful to share the virtual floor, so to speak, with Sandra Pronteau, who is certainly an idol of mine and whose passion and resiliency and strength and heart are certainly something to celebrate. Of course, in the month of November for Indigenous Disability Awareness Month, but for every month and every day. So, Chimigwach, Sandra. I am the National Coordinator of Indigenous Disability Canada and the BC Aboriginal Network on Disability Society. And if you don't know who we are, We're an award-winning national organization that's dedicated to serving Indigenous individuals with disabilities. And we were established in 1991. And since then, our organization has aimed to fill the gap of disability services for Indigenous peoples by providing various programs and services to individuals living with disabilities, as well as their families and communities. We collaborate with Indigenous, provincial, and territorial and federal governments to address the needs and priorities of this population, as well as other disability and Indigenous organizations as well. And we're the leading organization responsible for monitoring Canada's implementation on the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, or known more commonly by its abbreviation of the CRPD. An Indigenous Disability Awareness Month, or IDAM, is for the abbreviation. This is celebrated every November and was established by our organization in 2015 to recognize the vast contributions of Indigenous peoples living with disabilities and to increase the priority of Indigenous disability both nationally in Canada and internationally as well. Um, and since 2015, Indigenous Disability Awareness Month has really taken on a life of its own. It's been declared and recognized annually by most of the capital cities and provinces across Canada, notably British Columbia, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, by hundreds and hundreds of national disability organizations, by Indigenous leadership and groups and organizations, and hundreds upon hundreds of folks across the country. Um, and unfortunately, as we all know, Indigenous persons with disabilities and their families and communities face unique challenges and barriers that restrict their ability to be included members of both their communities and Canadian society. And these challenges include anti-Indigenous racism, disability discrimination, lack of support and services and programs. We see accessibility barriers specifically too that are unique to rural communities, and the list goes on and on. So ensuring that their voices and lived experiences and perspectives are heard and known and acted upon is crucial in advancing the health, wellness, and the rights of Indigenous and non-Indigenous persons with disabilities in Canada. So, Indigenous Disability Awareness Month brings awareness, of course, to these barriers and the issues that Indigenous peoples with disabilities face every day. But more importantly, though, despite these barriers, Indigenous Disability Awareness Month celebrates the achievements of Indigenous persons with disabilities and recognizes the significant and important and valuable contributions that they make to our communities and our lives, both as Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians. This is particularly important to remember in the current landscape that we're living in now, where unfortunately we're seeing a rise of anti-Indigenous racism and disability discrimination within Canada and the United States. And although we certainly need to pay attention to these issues and this negativity in order to combat them, the hate that we're seeing and experiencing now, unfortunately, should not and does not overshadow the good in the world and the goodness that Indigenous peoples with disabilities bring. And Indigenous peoples with disabilities are not a small group. Over one third of the Indigenous population in Canada identify as living with at least one disability. But they're not a statistic. These are family members, elders, youth, knowledge keepers, language speakers, leaders in communities, and loved ones. They are valuable and deserve systems and communities and leaders that honor every part of who they are. And my hope is that we collectively continue to build communities and policies and places and spaces where Indigenous peoples with disabilities are seen and valued and celebrated for today and for the 7 generations to come. So now we're in November, and as we're in Indigenous Disability Awareness Month right now, I invite each and every one of you here today to do some reflection on how you can be a part of this ongoing journey with us, and whether that's advocating for inclusivity and accessibility and intersectionality in your personal and professional life, whether it's learning about Indigenous perspectives on disability or amplifying the voices of Indigenous persons with disabilities. Um, so, Chimagwech, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup for listening this evening, and happy Indigenous Disability Awareness Month.
Thank you so much. So for those of us who just joined or joined recently, that was a video message from Julia McKeithron, who is National Coordinator of IDC, BC, ANDS. To honor our commitment to raise awareness of what they do, their work, in National Indigenous Disability Awareness Month, us here at ConnecTra and the Disability Foundation as a whole would like to present our signed proclamation to honor this month every year and do what we can to support this cause. Sandra, before we stream the documentary, would you like to add a few words, or are we good to go?
Well, first of all, I'm very proud that our people have come a long ways. You know, I grew up in the 60s, so at that time, this was never even thought of or even in existence. You know, back in that time, they were talking about the white paper, and, you know, I'm from Manitoba originally, and that one, it was hard as it was, because when you were dealing with the Parliament building and you had our Indigenous people at the time, like Elijah Harper, that were there representing, it was like a mockery for us to be present, to be delegating what we want to make our community a lot better, to acknowledge our people as a whole. So I appreciate BCANS. I met BCANS back in the 90s when back then the founder at the time of BCANS and my friends, also Stephen Litton, who is also a very well-known man. He's an elder, and he's a residential school survivor as well. And he has his own disabilities. So we work a lot together in the film industry, the theater industry and film industry as well. And so I just wanted to acknowledge all of my Indigenous friends that are actually been a part of my life, people that have mentored me, friends of mine from different disability organizations who want to take the time to learn and understand what it's like for an Indigenous person living with disability and how they can support and learn more and be of service, and also to educate other people. I myself am like an elder in training, and I am glad that we will be watching this documentary that I am so honored to share with you viewers. This film that I did, I couldn't have done it without the support of Inclusion BC, so I want to honor them for making this possible. When this film was developed, I was actually in the early stage of just making a serious decision about leaving my employment to because I was experiencing ableism and I was experiencing other things, gender-based violence, and it had impacted my mental health. And for anyone that understands, when your mental health is impacted by the racism and discrimination and systemic discrimination on top of that, you tend to go into social isolation. So at that time, I wanted to get involved, with the disability movement. So I met Disability Foundation, which I am very thankful for being here today in the space. I got connected with Inclusion BC. And then I got connected with a whole bunch of other groups that I wish I could list them all. Dawn Canada, Possibilities, BC People First. I got to meet a lot of amazing folks over the last few years. So I think that's all I will say for now. And I think please sit and watch the film. And again, I caution you, some of it might be a little sensitive matter. Some of it might be hard to listen and hear. But this is also a story of triumph. This is a story of overcoming a lot of things in life. And I look forward to chatting with you all after. Okay.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Let's jump into the documentary. And while you're watching, I encourage you to think of any questions or comments you may have. As Sandra mentioned, we will be doing a Q&A panel afterwards. So let's jump in. Thank you all so much for watching along. I'm sure some of you have questions, so we'll move on to the Q&A portion. So if you have a question for Sandra, please utilize the raise your hand button on your screen and we will call on you. If anyone has any questions they'd like to start with. Yes, you can also put questions in the chat if you're more comfortable. Go ahead, Graham.
Hi, Sandra. I just again wanted to thank you for sharing your story and being here to present with the ConnecTra and the Disability Foundation today. But I'd love to know, do you have any upcoming productions that you're working on? Is there a play that you're going to be a part of?
At this moment, I haven't got anything happening as we know, but you never know. I actually did get connected with a group. They're actually in Czech Republic. And my friend Steve Litton had asked me to help out on this international project. So what they wanted to do was educate the Czech Republic people over there as they still sensationalize the Hollywood style image of Indian and cowboys. And they want to educate them on a larger perspective from people like ourselves that are in the theater on like, well, this is the harsh reality, this is the reality that we face here in North America. And so right now what we're trying to do is get some traveling grant so we can make this project possible to go to Czech Republic to help and share our testimony. So they're actually a theater group too, and they have artists there who are also exhibiting their work. And I haven't heard anything more. I know like applying for like the Canada art grant is huge. And as you know, where we are with our economy today, I haven't put too much work into that, I will say honestly.
Okay.
And I do want to go to Czech Republic, because I love traveling and I haven't traveled since COVID, before COVID.
Right.
So if that answers your question, but I am also helping out Grassy Narrows in another project I'm a part of. Grassy Narrow is a remote community that is dealing with the environmental catastrophic, dealing with the mercury in their water. As you know, my birth defect is a result of the mining company, the local, the mercury, the unwanted stuff that got into our land, into our animals, our fish. I always wondered, like, when I first visited my mother, why they boil the water, the boil water advisory. I never knew any of that. Like, again, when I said in the video, she lived uh, boiling water, getting water from the well or the river, um, melting snow. That was the severity, not having plumbing, not having electricity when I was 14 years old at that time. And that's still happening today as we speak.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I believe Nicole raised her hand if you'd like to ask a question.
No, I just wanted to say thank you very much for sharing your story. Um, I just clapped. It was amazing. Thank you so much. You're so important to share your story. Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us.
Oh,
Your
you're welcome.
presence is valuable.
Thank you. You teach us so much. You teach us so much about disability and about Indigenous issues. And as you know, I'm my grandmother was in residential school, so to hear your story, and I have relatives that are in Bella Bella, and it's very hard for people to have access, myself included. It's not very accessible. So to hear your story and to know that we're not alone is very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Actually, my kids are from Clem too.
Oh,
Neighbors
okay.
to Bella Bella, and their grandmother was from Bella Bella.
Yes. Oh, cool.
Yes, yes,
Awesome. Yeah. It's an amazing place, but it's very
yes.
different and it's not very accessible for those of us who have physical disabilities, and it's very hard for elders. A lot of the elders are having issues, and yeah, so accessibility needs to improve in those areas for sure, with the water, with water issues, basic plumbing, basic needs. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I know I was in Bella Bella, and that hill is quite a hike.
Yeah,
And when
yeah,
you get off the boat and you go
yeah,
up on the boardwalk up
yeah.
to the community, yes.
Yeah, there's no way I would have been able to do that. I had a lot of help for family, and but it even back then it was hard. So I see relatives with elders, in their houses, and they have to be carried in their wheelchairs to their houses. So, it's a definite need for sure up there for more access, more accessibility for sure.
Well, if you ever need further support, please reach out to Dawn Canada
Okay,
and BCANS. Julia
okay,
that spoke earlier, she works for BCANS.
okay,
And if you want, you can reach out to us here at Disability Foundation.
okay,
And
yeah,
I could be like the contact person to get you supported, and hopefully we can find ways to make it more accessible and
yeah.
have your community to work for the people that are required.
Yes, 100%. There's so many of those areas. It's like there's so much need for so much out there. So, yeah. Thank
I
you.
had
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else have a question or a comment that they'd like to share? If If not, I have a question that I can ask Sandra. So, Sandra, you are an advocate, as we all saw in your documentary. What advice would you give to someone who may only be starting out their journey in the advocacy field? So, either self-advocating or advocating for others.
Well, first of all, you gotta know, like, what is your issue? What is the one thing that you're so passionate about? So for instance, for me, I started out as a young mom. When I was pregnant with my first child, I was told to have a terminated pregnancy because of my birth defect. They figured it would be hereditary genetic passed on. Scoliosis, like you heard, my birth defect is the result of the environment issues that are going on in the northern community, remote areas. Also, that was to racially profiling, and it was a biased attitude towards someone with disability. And it was a young physician who I said, well, you know what, this is my body. And as I mentioned in the video, the fact that because I have scoliosis and because I have some mobility challenges, what makes you think I can't carry this baby? So I proceeded with that and took the answer as a no. I am going to proceed with this. I will give it a go. And at that time, I didn't know that they were sterilizing Indigenous women and women with disabilities at large. And it goes way back to the history during the institutionalized time when all disabled people were tucked away, hidden away from society because they were too ashamed or too embarrassed to see. So you have to start with yourself by accepting you, finding out what is your barrier, what is your passion, listen to other stories. How can you apply? How can you get your message out in society? What is it that really bugs you? What is it that really needs to be addressed? What is the flaws in the system? Meet up with other Indigenous people, meet up with other people with disabilities. Like for now, I'm actually involved with Inclusion BC, Disability Foundation, BC People First, Protocol, BCANS. There's a lot of groups on Connected Disability Without Poverty. It's all relating to how we are treated and perceived in society. When you get that power and you find that voice in you and you start addressing it and believe in yourself, don't let someone else tell you to be silent. Do not ever listen to that. Take your stand and stand for your good cause.
Thank you so much, Sandra. We've gotten a few comments in the chat. So Angela Gordon says, thank you for this, Sandra. I remember seeing the Downtown Eastside Community Play and it was wonderful and your advocacy work is very inspiring. And then Ekaterina said, thank you so much, Sandra. You are a personal inspiration to me. So thank you both so much for your comments and kind words. Would anyone else like to share a question if they have one?
I could ask a question.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Yeah. So obviously everyone here kind of is in our community, and I think it's so great that we're able to come together and talk about these things. But of course, there's countless people that don't have a direct connection to disabled community or Indigenous community. So Sandra, I'm wondering, what would be the one thing that you want people that aren't connected to this community to know about Indigenous peoples with disabilities?
Well, first of all, I would encourage you to go online, do your homework, like type up whatever you want to learn. Like if you want to learn about your home community, wherever you're from, start there. Look up like what is the population of Indigenous people today? How many are dealing with disabilities? And it's so many. Like today, the subject itself is such a broad category. It wasn't like when we were like back in the 60s. You had like muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, polio, people that were hard of hearing, and the list can go on. Like today, we have diabetes, we have ASL, we we have people living with paraplegic, people that are like 1 minute fine in health and all of a sudden life change for the worse. And that is hard. I have people in my life who have like had an able-bodied life most of their life, and all of a sudden that was taken. And it's really hard to see your own loved ones dealing with that. So there's lots of that you can go through. You can go through BCAN, BC Aboriginal Network, Disability Society. You can look up Inclusion BC. There's a learning education program online that you can take if you want to learn more about the history of it. You can actually go and participate being a volunteer at Possibilities. There's so many you can contribute to, dedicate to, even help out Theta Terrific. I'm sure Disability Foundation can give you a list of all kinds of resources. And not just them, but everybody that's connected to the disability organization throughout, not just BC, but North America, Canada especially.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandra. No, that definitely answers my question.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm still learning.
Yes, as we all are, yeah.
I just want to point out one thing there. When I said in the video about me sharing my story because I chose to. The reason why I said that was I wanted to make a message for the younger generation, but also to leave a legacy for the people to come after me, for them to see and learn that mentoring, having a mentor in your life, having someone that's a leader, someone that's inspiring. For me, in my time, and to this day, Terry Fox was my person. He was someone that I was just in awe with. And there were others that I could think of that just inspired me, to like, no matter how much pain you're in, discomfort you're in, you keep trucking along, keep moving along. And that's something I learned. Don't let anything stand in your way.
Thank you so much, Sandra.
Yeah.
Let's have one last question before we finish off today. So if anyone has something they want to say, otherwise I do have a question that I can ask just to kind of okay. Well, as we kind of close off today, Sandra, what is the main message you want people to take away from your documentary and sort of today's event in general?
Like I said, the message was to help the younger generation, also the ones that are still struggling, trying to find their sense of identity. As you know, my story shared, I was living in a world where I felt not valued, where I felt unwanted. where I felt less than. And yes, I went through a lot of trauma in my life, a lot of pain. Just the main message is you can wallow in that, or you can do something about it. And that is about picking yourself up, learning from that life experience, and help those that are still struggling. And I figured, you know what? I don't want pity. I don't want people to like just take advantage, do whatever they please with me. When I knew that girl that was 4 years old at my first foster home, I have this picture of me actually, and I'm actually going to be using it in my webinar coming up. I had my hands on my hip, and you can tell from that character, that little being was a feisty one and spunky, and nothing would keep me quiet. So I knew I would speak up. But it's about finding that voice in you and trusting you, valuing yourself, and loving yourself is important, no matter what you go through. If you wake up and you're feeling in pain, or you're feeling a little annoyed with what's happening in your life, in my case, I am a mother of 4 grown adult children, and they still want mom, no matter what. And there are days where it's like, oh my goodness, when will this end? And I tell myself, have patience, you can do this. I don't know about you, but in high school, I had to do the 12-minute run. And they never treated me different. They made me do that 12-minute run. And it was hard. And in Manitoba, there was no exception for anything. You had to do it. And as much pain I was in, and it was hard. But the one thing I really did well was no one else could beat my record, was the flex arm hang. That's when you have the bar at your nose and eye level, and you're holding yourself up in the air. I beat everybody in my class. They knew, okay, well, she's a tough one. I don't want to get in her way, because my upper body was my strength. Even though my legs are not my strength because I have mobility issues. The story I'm saying is you gotta find your strength. And it doesn't have to be physical. I'm just using that as an example. My strength in here is empowering myself, getting up, doing what I can do, and not expect to be superwoman. I am superwoman in my own way. And honor yourself and work with what you have. Be patient.
Thank you so much, Sandra. That is some incredible words to take away with us today. So Trudy said, thank you for sharing your story, Sandra. Such a positive message to focus on strengths. You truly are an inspiration. And that sums it up perfectly well. So thank you so much, Trudy. Thank you all so much for joining us today. It has been an honor to share this space with you and share this space with Sandra. I encourage you to rewatch the documentary. It is on the Inclusion BC website if you are interested. And we hope to see you all again soon. So thank you all so much.
Hi. Take care all and be well and be safe. Have a lovely week.
Thank you all so much.